Gonna drizzle that lemon syrup all over, and it will Today we are doing lemon drizzle. So we're going to do a combination. We are going to do a few cupcakes, but we're also going to do a loaf. So you can see the two different methods of doing this. So I've actually pre-weighed my ingredients. Here I've got, it's very easy this one, 190 grams of flora plant butter, 190 grams of caster sugar, and 190 grams of plain flour. So I'm going to put my butter, might need a little spatula to help it out, my butter, and then my sugar, and we're going to mix those together until they're nice and creamed together, and then we're going to add the eggs one at a time. Start off slow because you don't want your sugar to come down, and then once it starts to mix, increase your speed a little bit. Make sure you occasionally scrape down the sides, because sometimes the ingredients will go to the outside of the bowl and then it's not properly mixed. So every now and again, scrape down the sides. We're not far off now, to be fair. One more mix. And that's a nice consistency. That's the sort of consistency you're after. Just to mix that butter and sugar all together.
So how many eggs?
This recipe calls for 3 eggs.
And you're expecting to make how many cakes?
I'm hoping for a loaf. I mean, this recipe is for a loaf cake, but I'm hoping to make a loaf and some cupcakes. So that's my hope. Just because I've done it before, this recipe, cupcakes and a loaf, and you can do it either way, to be honest. We like the cupcake just because it's convenient, you can just grab it and go. But obviously a loaf is quite nice as well. So now we're going to crack in our eggs. So we're going to do one at a time and wait until it's all mixed in before we add in the next one. So in goes the first one. In it goes. And we're going to mix that in slowly. And then once it's fully incorporated, we'll do the next one. It will look a little bit like it's curdled, but it's perfectly normal, don't worry. It will all work itself out once the flour is mixed in. We're going to go in, put the next egg in. When you do crack that egg in, it's probably an ideal opportunity to have a little scrape down of the sides. Again, like we said previously, this will just again help the mixture keep mixing properly. And now we're going to put our final egg in. Again, have another little scrape down, just make sure all of that, those ingredients are getting off so that they can properly mix in all together. There we go. That is your basic flour, sugar, butter and egg mix. And now we're going to get our flour mix ready to incorporate into there. You are going to put your 190 grams of plain flour. I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. I'm also going to add some grated lemon zest. It's roughly 2 tablespoons full. I'll be honest, I normally just use the whole lemon.
Any way of doing this if you didn't have such a fine grater?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, you can just use normal. You can just use a normal grater, and obviously that way you would have just a slightly thicker zest. I mean, I'll show you how this comes out. So this is a very fine zest. But you could use a thicker grater. I mean, I've had lemon cake before that have got a thick zest. It's just a personal preference, really. It's everyone's personal preference. When you're doing your zesting as well, be careful not to grate too much of the white, because the white's quite bitter. So you don't want that in there, you just want the nice lemon. Always use unwaxed lemons as well.
Why?
Just because the wax, obviously it's an additional coating that you don't need or want. You want unwaxed.
Waxed lemons.
Yes.
That you get in any shop?
Any shop, greengrocers, supermarket. Right, so there you go.
Hang on, show me. So it's very fine.
Very fine.
Very fine.
Very, very fine. And like I say, it says the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons. I more often than not eyeball it and just do the whole lemon. Because I personally think in this cake especially you can't have too much lemon. There's a tiny little bit there I'm going to remove just because I can see that's actually a little bit of the pip.
Oh.
So we're going to get rid of that because we don't want that, do we? So I will, for the purposes of the video, measure it out. Yeah, it's pretty much, a whole lemon is pretty much 2 anyway. So
a whole lemon gives you exactly...
Roughly, I mean that's quite I'd say that's quite a small lemon. But yeah, I'd say roughly. And like I say, I don't think you can have too much lemon personally. So now you've got your flour, baking powder and lemon zest in the bowl. You're just going to give it a very gentle mix just to incorporate those ingredients. And then once that's had a little mix, you're going to start adding it to your soft wet mix. So we're just going to go with 1 or 2 spoons to start. 1, 2, and again a slow mix.
What sort of number?
I think it's going on the first one, number 1. Just because again, you don't want to create a massive dust cloud and lose some of your flour. And as you can see already, that mix doesn't look curdled anymore because the flour is making it look more like a cake mix. Once that's in, go in with another spoon and just keep slowly adding it until all of it is fully incorporated. Turn it up a notch now, just to number 2, just a little bit more, and you can see that's starting to come together more like a cake mix now. So nearly there with the flour. So while I'm adding, I'm going to turn it back down.
This is a dairy-free,
soya-free, nut-free lemon drizzle. The original recipe did obviously have dairy butter and
milk,
and it did have milk, but also when I get to the wet ingredients in a second, I will explain that it also had another dairy ingredient, which I'll show you in a minute. Get some air into that mix. So there is that lovely cake mixture, and you're just going to scrape it off of the sides and off of the attachment, so that you don't lose, because also as well the lemon zest will naturally collect on the mixer. So try and remove as much of it as you can so that you don't lose any of that flavour. This original recipe had milk as the next part of the recipe, but also ricotta.
Which is?
Ricotta's cheese. And it's quite often used in baking. It's flavourless, so in terms of a flavour it wouldn't add a cheesy flavour to the cake. I've made it both ways, and I'll be honest, I don't really know that there's much of a difference. So I mean, by all means, if you want to make this as a dairy recipe, then obviously go ahead and use your milk and your ricotta. But I have just substituted. Originally the recipe was 25 mils, I think, of cow's milk and like 80 grams of ricotta. So obviously for the dairy-free version, I just substitute the combination of the cow's milk and the ricotta with solely just the oat milk. Now here is 80 millilitres of oat milk, but I'll be honest, I just kind of judge it based on how it's mixing. So I've got 80 here, I might need a little bit more. I might not need all of that. So we're just going to add it in slowly and see how it goes. And so I'm going to pour just a little drop in, and then we're going to put that on a low mix and then slowly increase. So I think we can do a little bit more. Always just do a little at a time, because you can always add, you can't take away. Another little drop.
It's starting to smell very lemony.
This is a good lemon cake, and this isn't the only lemon that goes into this cake. You will see there are 3 different forms of lemon that go into this cake. This is just stage 1. Wait for the magic. So that's another little bit. So we are nearly there. I'm going to increase it one more, and then I'm actually going to stop and have a little look. Because like I said, it's no harm to not use all of that. It's better to just check. So,
wow, look at how different that looks.
I know. So obviously you've got a volume in there, so I don't want to mix it too much because I don't want to lose that volume. But also I still think it can probably have just a little smidge more liquid. So we are going to put in some more. So let's go. Let's put this last little bit in.
So most of that has already gone in.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably about 60 mils that's gone in, maybe 70. And I think we're going to go with the last lot. So 80 mils. That's enough. Yeah, I think that nice last little bit of liquid is just going to help add some moistness to that cake. So now we are ready to decant our mix into our 2 places. But what we are going to do first is we're going to put our oven on to heat up while we're doing this. So you want it on 170 and just give that maybe 5 minutes to heat up. And then obviously I've just got a normal loaf tin here. Now you can get loaf liners, I've used those before, but again, a bit of butter, absolutely fine. So we've got the last bit of the flora plant here that I used. So now I'm going to start decanting this into here. Like I say, you want to be careful not to knock out any of the air that you've created. So I'm just going to give that a gentle rock back and forth to spread the mix. Quick tap to get any air bubbles out.
So what you're saying, you don't flatten it with a spatula or something?
You can, but I wouldn't worry. It's going to naturally, as it rises, it's going to create a dome shape. I'm now going to go in for the cake cases, and then whatever I've got left I'm going to top up to the loaf. So obviously normally you would get quite a full loaf tin from this mix, because obviously look, we've still got quite a lot that we could get in there. But because I want to have both, that's why obviously it's going to be a slightly smaller loaf. We can go around in a bit. I'm neaten up these cupcakes. There we go. And then we've still got a decent amount that I can put in that loaf tin. So to be fair, you probably, if you were doing just solely cupcakes, I think you'd easily get 12 to 16, possibly even 18. So again, just a general little shake around, spread the mix, little pat just to get any air bubbles out. Like I say, that mixture is naturally going to spread as it goes in the oven. I'm going to do the same with these. Just a little tap. And actually, I feel like this one's got quite a lot. So I'm just going to put a little bit in that one. So the loaf normally takes 50 to 60 minutes.
It's a long one.
If it's a full loaf, but because I've split the recipe, my thought process is that I'm actually considering doing this for 30 minutes and then checking it, because I'd say it's probably half. So we'll go for 30 for this, but the cupcakes naturally will only take maybe about 15 minutes. So we'll see you in 15 minutes. So we've still got our cakes cooking, but while we're doing that, I mentioned that there was more lemon to go into this cake. So we're going to take the lemon that you used the peel for in the cake, and we're going to use it to make a simple syrup that we're going to soak into the cake, and that will add even more lemon flavour. So literally you just want to put the whole lemon juice, you're going to squeeze all of that lovely lemon juice into the saucepan.
This is when you find out about all the little cuts you've got.
Yeah, and it stings and you want to scream. So if you hear me scream, you know why. Obviously the pips are going to come out, it's not a problem. So you just want to get out as much of that juice as you can to make this delicious lemon syrup. And then the next half. Oh, and it shoots everywhere. Again, if you've got a juicer at home, by all means, use that. I do not. So hands it is.
Can you use the squirty lemon juice from those, you know?
I've never tried, so, you know.
Or is that concentrated? But this is concentrated,
I was
right?
going to say, I mean, the thing is you've got to use the lemon peel for the cake, so you might as well, because you've got, obviously, the leftover lemon, and don't waste a drop. So there's your lemon. Then you need 100 mils of just plain tap water. So we're going to neutralise that, get that back to 0, and I'm going to add in 100 mils of water.
So you are watering down the lemon juice?
Yeah, right, that's 101, I'll take that. And then you're going to add in 50 grams of caster sugar. So this is, like I say, just going to make a nice, simple little syrup that'll soak into your sponge.
So did you zero the scales again?
I did zero the scales again.
Okay.
There we go, 50 grams. And you're just going to put that on your hob, and you're going to let that come to a boil. And basically the idea is to make the syrup, you want to all those ingredients to incorporate and reduce, so that you get that sticky sweet syrup that's going to soak into your sponge and add an extra element of lemon flavour. The cupcakes, now they might need a little bit longer, so let's have a look. They've had 15. I can already see, I think they're going to need a little bit longer. They're quite nice and fluffy. They do bounce back, but they still look a little bit wet, so I'm going to give them 2 more minutes. So just while we're waiting for the rest of those cupcakes to finish off, we're just going to give this a little stir, and as you can see, the sugar has dissolved now into that liquid mixture. So now we just want that to reduce by half. So you, like I say, you're going to have this up high, and you can see, look, there's starting to be bubbles, so it's starting to come to a boil. It's not a bad thing. And let's see where we're at. They've had the extra 2 minutes. There we go. And we're just going to pop that up there. Thank you very much. Yeah, they've got a slightly better colour on them now. Just going to put my trusty cake tester in. Comes out clean. Yep. Then they're cooked. Perfect. 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 Right, so
that
they are
was
done.
Like 17 minutes.
Yeah, about 17 minutes. I'm not going to take them out of the tray. I'm going to give them a few minutes to cool. And then while we're doing that, I am just going to quickly check on our syrup. So, it's doing its work, but it's not quite there yet. I'm going to give it a little stir. And let it carry on bubbling away. So, the syrup, as you can see, has now reduced a lot. So you've got a nice syrup texture there that it still looks quite wet, but as you can see, because it's reduced, that will have increased the flavour. So we have taken that off the heat, we've turned it off, and we are going to put some of that onto our cakes. You can also see the colour has changed.
Oh, hang on.
Can you see that?
Uh-huh.
The colour's changed. So we're just going to put a very small spoonful on the middle of each cake.
So you don't pierce a hole in the cakes or anything.
It's just going to naturally soak into that sponge. And that's just going to naturally, I'm just going to put another little drop on that one.
So it might sound like a silly question, but is this the drizzle of Lemon Drizzle?
Well, possibly. I mean, like I say, there is a third element to this. So this is the second element, which is, yes, a lemon drizzle. But our icing, we're not going to do a butter icing. We're going to do a normal icing sugar, but with lemon and a little bit of oat milk. So I'm going to save the rest of that syrup for our big cake. So that can just go back on the hob to wait. And you're just going to leave them to finish cooling. So that syrup is going to soak right in and make a nice lemony, moist texture in the middle of those cupcakes. We're going in to get the loaf cake out. Now again, externally it looks done because it's got quite a nice brown colour to it. But we'll see, because it's quite a substantial loaf, it might need a little longer. Let's see. So we'll test here first. Yep, clean. Side clean. Other side clean. Ooh, but it's the middle, that's the test. It is, it's come back clean. Fab. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to pour the last of this syrup. Again, don't worry too much if your seeds, lemon seeds, do end up going on the cake. It doesn't matter, but we're just going to drizzle that lemon syrup all over. And it will naturally, because of the loaf, the way it's naturally arched, it will drip to the edges. But again, if you wanted, you can always move it around before it fully soaks in. Get every last drop. Of that lemony goodness into there. And then I am just going to gently pick off those seeds. If you see anywhere where it hasn't got any, just take a little drop, pop it in. You're going to get a very lemony end because the way it falls. And that is, like I say, just going to soak in and give that cake a lovely lemon flavour. Then we're going to leave them to completely cool, and then we're going to go on to the third and final lemon element, and we're going to create a lemony icing with icing sugar, lemon juice and oat milk. We have put the syrup on, stage 2, which has soaked in nicely to our cakes. And now it is time to make our icing. So we're just going to use some regular icing sugar. This recipe calls for a cup of icing sugar. So to that you're going to grate in some lemon zest. Again, just use your eye. We're going to save the rest to separate the top. So
The rest of what?
The rest of this zest. So we'll continue to zest that once this is done, and we'll just do it as a little decoration on top because this is all going to mix in, you'll see in a minute. So the half that I've already grated the zest from, I'm going to cut that off and I'm going to squeeze in we're going to add in the same amount of oat milk, so a tablespoon. So I've got a half tablespoon here, so we're going to do one and then another one, and we're going to give that a little mix. You may need to add some more liquid, but we're just going to do little and often. It is starting to mix in, but I do think it's going to need a little bit more liquid. Another little squeeze of lemon juice. There's not much left in that bit, so we're just going to go with a little bit of that. And another half a tablespoon of oat milk. And just continue mixing. That's a bit better. You still want your icing to be quite thick, but you want it to be able to spread. So it's quite a thick icing. I think I'm going to add another drop. So again, just do little by little. I'm not even going to do half, I'm just literally going to do, oh, that's a bit too much. Literally a dribble. Because the thing with icing sugar is you need very little liquid, otherwise it goes very runny. A little squeeze. A little squeeze from that one. Ooh. There we go. Perfect. So now that is ready to go on our cake. So that's it.
Lemon drizzle cake.
Yeah, and it is dairy free, soya free, and nut free, and it's delicious.